No, it's okay, it's working.
Okay, so we're going to get started here with the presentation on BlenderPocket.
Okay, hello. My name is Salvatore Russo. I'm working on this project to make Blender work on mobile devices. Blender was already working some years ago on a Pocket PC, but it was not part of the open source contract. So today there was no Blender working on PDA. That's why I begin to work on that project. I will make this presentation in 4 parts. First, I will show where was the main difficulties to make Blender run on PDA. Then I will explain how I see the future of this project, then the main application. And after your question, I will try to show you something. We will see how it is. So when I begin to work on this project, I first begin with the map of the source code. And at the beginning, I wanted to exclude almost everything. But after Ton answer to one of my emails, he explained me that there was really no need to put everything away because things were not were linked together. But first to begin working only excluding the game engine and the source and the sound library. And also I decided to not support the international support. Now, I think it will not be so difficult to add it, but at that time, I take this decision. And he suggested to focus on 2 main big difficulties. That was the Ghost library and the OpenGL stuff on PDA that are not so easy. And later, I also had to make some changes in the source code. I will explain how and why. And also for the fonts, because the fonts had to be adapted to our small screens. So why the Ghost library is so important for us? It is really the key point where all the hardware stuff are implemented. Here you have all the event management system. That means if you want to implement new metaphors, for example, for us to use the stylus only and the buttons, you can make it here. Also, in the Ghost library, you have all the Windows management system where the OS windows are defined. In a mobile device, you cannot create many windows, so you have to control it here. You can create only one Windows, and it will be your application Windows. Here, in the Ghost library, is implemented all things related to keyboards, to mouse, and also other hardware, if you want. So for us, that was really important. And also here, there is the OpenGL context management. And because we are not using OpenGL or not the classical one, that was also important to give a look here. So the Ghost library is like this. You have the heart of this library where everything is really good defined, and I didn't touch nothing here. Then you have, for each platform, you have 3 files. And what I did, I took the Windows one and I modified it to meet the requirement of our PDA. I received, at that time, I'm also now a beginner in the source code, and I received a lot of help from the creators of Ghost, and they explained me a lot of things. So in here you see you have three files when you see in the source code for BlenderPocket. The first one, the Ghost Windows file. Here you have the Windows creation. You have everything with OpenGL, and I made also other tuning that I will not explain here. And in the other files in this Ghost system, here you have the hardware button implementation, and in the event loop, it's there where it's defined how we can use the button with the stylus to simulate a mouse and things like that. And there are also other things. So that was for Ghost. Then, when Ghost was running with the first test, I had to work on OpenGL, and here that was quite a difficult choice. I could use OpenGL ES for embedded system, so that's what exists today for the mobile device. But I also had a look to Mesa, the open source OpenGL library, because I will explain. So the good point for OpenGL ES is that it is a standard for mobile device. It is especially developed and optimized for PDA with a fixed point implementation, because our mobile device don't have a floating point unit, so you cannot use a floating point like that, at least for a graphic library. And there are some implementation available for open source or for free. And for Mesa, the good point was that it is a full OpenGL implementation. It is a very portable code, so that I had no problem to compile it for my Pocket PC. And this library has a long history and a good team working on it, so there is also a lot of support here. The bad point for OpenGL ES is that it is only a subset of OpenGL, and Blender need all OpenGL function, and the missing function were quite important here. So there were vital functions for Blender that were missing. The bad point for Mesa was that a full optimization is needed for this library to be able to run in acceptable condition in our mobile device. And I had some problems to solve to even start Blender. At the beginning with OpenGL, it could start. It was not good, but it could start. With Mesa, I had some problems. I will not enter in detail. I didn't solve this problem because I had to take a decision. That was a point where to go ahead, there were big difficulties. So the good point for OpenGL ES were that my first tests for Ghost were working very good with a wrapper provided me from Daniel Wagner. But this wrapper was not open source, and he only provided it to me to work, but I couldn't really work on that. Blender could start. If you want, I could show you the first picture, but it has nothing to do with Blender. It was only starting, and you could see the screens, but that was also a good point. And here, today, we have to know that some hardware already support OpenGL ES acceleration. So that's a very good point for the future for these things. For Mesa, the good things were that the Ghost tests were running, but very slow, but still running. I could compile it without big changes, and I began to go in this direction and made some optimization. But when we see the byte point for these two library is that for OpenGL ES to go further, I had to really understand OpenGL to develop my own wrapper with the missing functions. That was quite difficult for me at that time. But the bad point for Mesa was first that I couldn't start Blender. So I had to spend a lot of energy to understand why it was not working and to even start it. Then a full fixed point optimization was necessary. That's quite difficult math for such a graphic library. Then, in this direction, I was going against the industry massively adopting OpenGL ES for mobile devices. And the next bad thing is that with Mesa, there is no hope to see hardware acceleration with this library because it's not designed for that. So I decided to go in this direction. And to develop my own wrapper, I give the name OpenGL ES2 OpenGL. So I made this library. So the main function emulated in this library are first the begin end function to make all the geometry. It's used a lot. But in OpenGL ES, it's not supported. It's only vertex array are supported. So I emulated it with a vertex array. I took my inspiration for other work also. That was something already done. The glue stuff, I took them from Mesa. That was working good. It's not optimized now for fixed point, but it's not a problem for the moment. Concerning the evaluators in OpenGL, that's what, when you go in the node editor, for example, that's what is doing this nice curve. I didn't need it, these things. I replaced this curve with simple lines, so I didn't emulate them. That was quite important, the pixel and bitmap drawing. In OpenGL ES, you don't have a bitmap and pixel drawing. And I had to replace them with texture drawing. But the good news is that it was already here in the source code of Blender. I began to develop things, and after that, I saw that it was already written in Blender, and I could use it very efficiently. And also for the fonts. The fonts are drawn today with bitmap, but there is also in the source code of Blender something to draw them with texture. So that was very good news for me. Then I developed something for to support the raster position in OpenGL. That was quite a big point. In OpenGL ES, you don't have a selection process that is critical for Blender. Each time you make a click, Blender almost every time it is running the OpenGL selection process, and that was not here in OpenGL ES, so I had to make it, and other small stuffs not so important. The last thing is the front and back buffer access. Blender is using two buffers to draw the menu, to draw everything. Is every time you make something, it draw that in the back buffer and is swap in the front buffer. And that was not existing in OpenGL ES, so that was a problem. At the beginning, I made some things with offline buffers to copy the buffers to have something like that. But that was really poor with the performance and too complicated. But then I discovered that you have a very nice function in Blender, this mySwap buffer, that is makes everything for you. You run it in the right place, and it's working very good. So the summary of the picture, here you have the source code of Blender. So you have the external library, the internal library, and the source code, the source of Blender. So in the external library, there is not OpenGL, but OpenGL ES, and the ports of all other stuffs that's coming from the open source community. In the internal library, you have the Ghost for mobile devices. You also have my OpenGL wrapper, and this library for fonts is adapted for our mobile device to have small fonts. And in the source code, there are some modification to support the front and back buffer access. All the toolbox, the menu, and things had to be reduced. Okay, that's a small thing. You have to generate in your own platform a DNA file. I had to implement some standard functions. That was quite a lot of work and not so interesting work. I think if some people want to make BlenderPocket run on other platform, that they will not, it will not be applicable, these things. Then I had also to make things about Unicode conversion. Okay, I will not go in detail. If you have questions, I can answer after that. And other fine-tuning about that. So that was the first overview about the source code of BlenderPocket. So now the priority for the near future. For me, my first priority is to support all efforts to make Blender run on other OS. Because today, Blender is running on Windows Mobile, because I had this, but I'm not so happy with that because people should be free. And I'm convinced that for Linux devices, for example, that will be really, really easy to compile it, and to make it run. So I will support that I will try to support it. Here you have a screenshot from in my forum. A user, GZ, posted that he compiled without effort Blender for the tablet internet, Nokia, this tablet internet, and he said without changing a line of code. So here the effort will be concerning the Ghost library to make the same things, but it's already done. Maybe it would make that better, and that will be good. And also to use OpenGL ES, because today he's using Mesa, and that can be okay. I didn't see how it works, but I think it's quite slow. So for me, I am working in making BlenderPocket support the open source OpenGL library, which is Vincent. Today, BlenderPocket is using the Rasteroid implementation, but it's not open source. That means it's not available, for example, for all devices. And so I'm working in making BlenderPocket run with it. I will not go now into details here, but I can answer a question here. And new ideas for new ports are, for example, all Linux mobile devices. Also, other devices like Palm OS or the PSP. The PSP today has OpenGL ES accelerated hardware, but no touchscreen. So I don't think it will be so easy to. But that's quite important to have a look on the new hardware with OpenGL ES acceleration, because that's coming now and that's not so expensive. You have also the Nintendo DS, for example. I don't have any idea how to develop if C++ is supported, but for this you have two screens, and you could make probably some fantastic things with Blender. So the other priority is to promote Blender and BlenderPocket, writing some tutorials, because you have 4 kinds of users, I think. The first one, I maybe 90%, I think, that's Blender fan that have a very good knowledge of Blender and they are interesting to run Blender on the Pocket PC. You also have, I received some messages from people with, that are mobile devices fan, but with a great interest in 3D package, and they have some backgrounds with that. Then you have the 3D package users. They heard, okay, you can use, they are using other commercial projects, and they are curious to see what can that be on a mobile device. And at the end, you have the mobile device fan who have absolutely no experience with 3D package. So the approach here is quite different. For the first category, for these people, they only need a short introduction to explain them how to map the button and to take new habits, and they will move quite easily in the Blender world and without problems. For the second part, I think they need more detailed explanation to keep to be interested. But then, as soon as they will have this explanation, they will move also to the Blender resource, and they will manage to make the bridge between BlenderPocket and Blender. So that's not so big problem. For these people, 3D package users, they need a short explanation only to see how to run it and how to use it. But I'm convinced they will not stay with BlenderPocket. They will first go in Blender and see what's this software. They will learn Blender, and then they will use it, and they will go in this category. And the last category, I think, for people without knowledge in 3D packages, BlenderPocket is not the good product. They have to first to learn Blender, and the user interface is fantastic for us, but they will never really manage to see, because you first have to know where to find the things to be able to find them. So that they have to go in a desktop implementation first. And of course, the last priority is to improve BlenderPocket. To be honest, I stopped working on that this last month, but that's also a high priority. I don't think there are big stability issue, but we have still a problem with some memory management. Some users are made bad experience with a bug where all icons are white. That's allocation, a memory allocation problem. I didn't manage to solve it. I'm working on that. I solved it for maybe 90% of the users. I also add it, but there are still 1 or 2 users with it. And on my Pocket PC, it seems that I only have this problem, but that's a bad coincidence. Sometimes BlenderPocket blocked. If I made a demonstration, it will probably one moment freeze. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm clicking. If I go too fast, there is something in the event loop, and it takes sometimes, and there is problems here. The other things is that optimization can be done in the fixed point implementation. So first, in the glue library, I can make very easily everything in fixed point. That's not a big problem. But then the question is, in Blender, there is maybe one port that is intensively using floating point, and that could be easy, or that is localized enough to be converted, because there is no way to convert everything in Blender. That has no sense. But maybe I had a look, maybe this library making some math, central math, maybe there is something to do. And of course, there are other optimization that could be done, and also the source code can be better written. I write that for me, but it's the quality is not good enough, and some works can be done here. So yeah, to make that alone, that's quite difficult. So if some people are interested, they're welcome. Okay, a question that I received a lot. and all people, a lot of people asked me, yes, okay, but what are you doing with the game engine? I understand that's a very important part and very interesting part that's maybe the main application of BlenderPocket, but that's not also a so easy project. I think there are two things. We can go in two directions, or we work in making the Blender game engine work for BlenderPocket, or we use other game engines already ported for mobile devices. For the first thing, I don't have idea how difficult it is before going in this direction and make it myself alone. I will solve the other things because that can be a quite difficult project, but that can be also a compilation with, I don't know, but if some people want to work here, also you're welcome. And for the other part, there are already game engine ported for Pocket PC. For example, this game engine, Ogre 3D, and you can make the bridge or we can use it. That depends. We are free for that. Okay, now the main applications of this project. What can we do with BlenderPocket? Okay, first, the first good things is to have your favorite software with you everywhere. I personally use a lot BlenderPocket to learn Blender. When I read the news or when I read a tutorial to make small tests, you don't need to have a supercomputer to do it. If you make the small things, that's no problem. And to learn Blender, that's very good. So also, you can also use BlenderPocket to bring Blender to what you want to model or what you want to texture. You can bring your laptop, but for people without a laptop, you can go, for example, like a painter in painting a landscape, he is obliged to go there to make it. And you can use BlenderPocket to make things like that. You can also bring your favorite blend file with you everywhere. There are no full compatibility. Of course, you have to be careful not to activate Subsurf with level 6 or big textures or things like that. But if you make reasonable things, there are no problems. And of course, you can realize small projects directly from BlenderPocket. If you want to move a ball or to rotate small things, to make small particle effect, to texture a sphere, things like that, there are no problems with this software. Other applications were also to advertise Blender and to prove how good is its design. And I didn't make a lot of things. Everything was already here and was already, the most difficulties were already designed. For example, the best example is the user interface. There are some discussion about the user interface, but that's a perfect user interface for a mobile device. You have to change only small things to not have big menus, biggest than the screen, but then you can tune everything as you want. So that's quite good. The library that I developed can also be used for all devices without floating point unit to run Blender. Maybe some other work will need to be done, but for example, for this project, one laptop per child, these laptops will not have a floating point unit probably. So to run Blender, we can take this library or find another solution. And there are no real limit in the application of BlenderPocket because the Python script are supported. So you can make everything you want. A user, Remax Bad, developed a virtual keyboard, especially for BlenderPocket. You can think about 3D calculator, You can also think about navigation system because it's the fashion today. You also can think about computer-assisted design scripts for the mechanical guys. Everything is authorized here. And yeah, you can also think about other applications, but it's more in the future, science fiction, but you can only use your Pocket PC as a viewer, and everything is calculated outside in a remote. You have other project that can be some application. Okay, that's some screenshot from a user, Nelson, who made everything in BlenderPocket. When you go in my website, I took the tests. That's not things that I modeled myself. It's only the Blender files. But here you have what can be done in Blender. So you can render things like that in BlenderPocket, and that's the small project that I was saying. Okay, so here a list of links. Okay, so thank you. If you have any questions, first, yeah? No, I didn't try. That's why I made it in the application, because of course, yeah, I could. I tried to change as few things as possible in the source code. Sometimes I deleted libraries, but that was at the beginning. Then I saw that there was no problem, so I really changed as few things as possible. So we can, we can try it, and we can speak about the applications. And for stupid things is my Pocket PC has no Wi-Fi or things like that. So for me, I can build it. Like some people are asking me to build that for other devices, like Windows Mobile 2002. But if I don't have these devices, it doesn't few sense. I already made it. It was not working, and stop. So, but the source are I can support people that want to work on BlenderPocket or to understand why I made some changes. Sometimes it's stupid decision and we can change it. Yeah? What? Yeah? Emulators to
I mean, you're saying that you only have your own Pocket device and you like to try it on other systems like Pocket PC 2002, but you can't test it because you don't have the device. But there's software available which can emulate the device by software, so you can run it on your PC like it's running on Pocket PC 2002.
The modern environment support it. But for example, Windows Mobile 2002, it's not possible. You have to install the whole embedded Visual Studio for 2002, so it's not my version.
Okay.
You have to, and then you have to compile everything. It's not supporting your compilation. You have to compile it for the desktop processor. It's not a real emulation. The new things with the new Visual Studio, it's possible, but it's not free.
Okay.
So I'm not so happy.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Maybe if you want, I can make a small demo to see how it's working. And if you have other question after that, I can answer. Okay. I don't know how it will work because that's quite. Okay. Let's see. 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, he detected it. Quick connect. Okay. So. Okay. Okay. Okay, I will only show basic things. Okay, first, you want to make it bigger? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, then. Okay, if you the first thing, when you go in this directory, you have like a configuration file saying what are you button making. So I will say the mouse is the first button, and then Alt Control Shift. So I will say button A, B, C, and then up and down. It's only to say you can configure here, and then you can run. Okay, so here the connection is quite slow. So you can, if I press B, I can rotate it. Okay, it's smooth in my Pocket PC. Here the refresh rate is not good. If I press B and C, I can zoom, for example. Okay, I will make the screen bigger. I will press D and down for space to have a full screen. I can also move with B and D. Okay, so you can move. Okay, here it's slow, but on my Pocket PC it's quite fast. So you can move. You can also rotate you can rotate, making, for example, a circle with this gesture. You can also, if you want to scroll, for example, the menu bar, you press B and you scroll it. And you can go to take the modifier here, for example, and you can use them to rotate. You have this rendered, everything is implemented twice or three times in Blender. So for BlenderPocket, it's perfect. If I want for example, now to make the screen bigger, to use the to play with the edit panel, I can also move it. I can zoom it with B and okay, and if I press with the right button, I implemented the home view, so it automatically calculate everything, and you can also, for example, okay. For example, I don't have enough time to show everything I wanted to show, but if you want, for example, we will make a Susan head. For example, we will delete it. So we can use the toolbox here. You can go in object. No, it's not object, it's edit, delete. You delete the object. You can add a monkey head. So you can go here, add, or you can also call the toolbox and you add a monkey head. So here it's in edit mode. We can zoom it. You can go and see, okay, I just want to see it. So I go in view selected and I have it good. So here I can, for the selection process, for example, we decide to select only faces. So we can choose the faces selection here, and then you select with the first mouse click the first button, A, and you select whatever you want. If you want to make a many selections, you press the D and A, and you will continue to select whatever you want. If you want to use the lasso select implemented in Blender, that's all this funny stuff in Blender that are perfect for us. So you can select something and press the C button and draw around what you want to select, and it will select what you want. If you want to run, okay, you say something, a good surprise, for example, was in this, the last version of Blender, you have this render preview window, and that's perfect for us. It's making everything. You don't need to run big rendering. You can do it. I can run a rendering, but okay, that's quite slow to render. But okay, I put the head outside the camera. You can okay, you can make. For example, if I press the B, I will see everything. I can make a constraint with the camera. Nothing. There are no real big limits. You can move the head, for example, if you want to make a small animation. You select the head. Here you add a key. Okay, now we will go in quite some...
30 seconds.
Okay. We will go in this frame, and I will move the head, pressing the button. I will make it bigger. I will rotate it also. So here you can add another key. And I will change in my render, in my option, because I defined. So here we put 31 to see the animation. And here now, if you want to see the animation in the 10 seconds that we have, you can go view, play animation, and it's okay. Now it's not on my Pocket PC, it's smoother. But you can make things like that. Small matter, okay, you can. Let's make something like that. It's okay. You will not have a full power, but for small things like that, you will not notice any. For the rendering, of course, if you make ray tracing, global illumination, that can last some time.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have some question,
You'll be around tonight and tomorrow as well?
Yeah.